Hello, welcome to yet another fine episode of Wild Wisdom Podcast. I am your rampant wildebeest, Peter Stockbridge, and I'm joined by my old pal Alan again, and we are talking about why video game movies are so shit. We don't really have a good track record for movies that come from video games, and we're here to sort of try and work out why, I think, Alan.
Yeah, there's definitely a going theme with these type of films, stroke games.
I've got a list in front of me here, and we're going to just sort of, go through them all. Some of them, discuss maybe why. So the first one was Super Mario Brothers in '93. That was the one with Bob Hoskins
And John Leguizamo.
That's it.
Dennis Hopper as King Koopa.
Yeah. So we look at that one. They did that literally. It was a literal sort of translation, and it didn't work.
No.
I think where they fell apart is trying to marry it in with the real world, rather than it being like a complete fantasy location. I remember going to the cinema and my Todd to see that a few times. I wasn't well at the time, yeah. Whenever we talk about video game movies, everyone goes to Mortal Kombat. So this was a couple of years later in '95. Now, I think the general sort of feeling is it's crap, but it's good crap.
It was passable. I quite enjoyed Mortal Kombat 95.
Yeah, the opening music is what everyone remembers. The right?
Yeah.
That's it. The sequel sucked balls so much, though. I remember just seeing like the sort of first 10 minutes and going, "You're having a laugh."
I actually took my future wife on a date to see that film.
Oh, really? Back in the day?
That was my first date. To see Mortal Kombat Annihilation, and I forever apologised to her. I said, I am so
I'm
sorry.
so sorry.
I'm so sorry that I put you through like 80 to 90 minutes of absolute hell.
Yeah.
She must have thought my taste in films was utter rubbish.
Well, you couldn't have done that badly.
But I've made up for it since.
Yeah. So with the first Mortal Kombat, again, it was a literal translation, and I think that in this case it didn't work because maybe there were too many characters. The plot line, screenplay, obviously was a big factor. So, what do you think? Because I'm not sure.
It's mainly based on Mortal Kombat 1 and 2 in terms of the video games. I mean, we had pretty much the roster of the first game: Sub-Zero, Scorpion, Raiden, Sonya Blade, Liu Kang, Johnny Cage.
The core fighters.
The core fighters from the first game, and of course we had the bosses in there: Shang Tsung and Goro. And Goro was actually he was
alright.
He was pretty much a puppet in with an actor inside, I believe, and he worked absolutely fine. I've got no problems with that. That's passable for me. That is actually passable.
Yeah.
Of course, I think they.
Shang Tsung's character was
Shang Tsung's character
well.
was actually very good. Kerry. I'm going to embarrass myself and try and pronounce his surname, but hopefully you know who I'm talking about. He's a very seasoned actor, and he's a very good actor. He's done a lot of good films.
Yeah.
My problem with Mortal Kombat 95 is Reptile. CGI onto that just gives me nightmares. It could give N64 graphics a run for its money. It really could. It's like, It's Paul Anderson's introduction to the video game world, and it's probably his best effort.
Yeah. I think out of the whole list, I think Mortal Kombat is the one that's kind of like, okay, that's a kind of pass.
It's the easiest one to translate, I think.
Yeah.
You can use Earth, for instance. You talked about Super Mario shoehorning Earth in, just for the sake of trying to base it in reality.
Yeah.
With Mortal Kombat, yes, some of it is actually set on Earth, and that's how you can get away with it.
I can see why they've done that. Is they're trying to sort of give us an easy way into it, where they don't seem to realise that you can just have a 10-minute explanation at the beginning, like Lord of the Rings did with their thing. There was a prologue, and then you get into the film.
Yeah,
fantastic. June didn't do that, but that's a whole different kettle of fish. We're skipping over one, Wing Commander, whatever. But like the next real sort of important one was the Lara Croft Tomb Raider, I mean, I've got my own beef about Lara Croft. I just, she really is nothing more than a male simp, sort of like whatever.
That's Angelina Jolie. Yeah, and that game was Daniel Craig, I believe. I think that's the first thing I saw him in.
Oh my God, Daniel Craig.
Yeah, I just remember seeing the shower head in the cinema, and everyone was sort of gasping, thinking, "Oh, we're going to see Lara Croft having a shower," and then just a collective groan as it was revealed to be Daniel Craig.
Lara Croft. The film definitely exposed the whole nature behind the character, and that the fact that she was only really there originally to target the male audience.
Yeah.
Literally, it's so fucking obvious. I'm not dissing on anyone's love for the character at all, but I could see that from a mile off when it first came out. Same with other things like Pokemon and I still can't believe to this day that there are people that still like Power Rangers. So I mean, yeah, Lara Croft, the movie. I didn't like it. What did you think?
A bit messy, a bit choppy in places. It lost something.
Mm.
There's something, in the Lara Croft films. In terms of the games, even I never played the ones I think that were on PlayStation 1.
Yeah,
maybe 2. Only ones I ever played on was probably the Xbox One version, the Tomb Raider game on that, which I thought was really good. It was really gritty and dark, and I thought, why couldn't they have made a film like this? And of course, some years later they did.
Oh, with the reboot.
That's right, it's a reboot movie.
Yeah. And then there was a sequel in 2003. The first one was 2001. 2003 had Cradle of Life with the same actress.
I avoided it.
I forgot her name now, but
Angelina Jolie.
Angelina Jolie, yeah. Yeah, okay, so that was with Chris Barry.
Yes, he played a butler.
The famous British comedian guy.
Rimmer
from Red Dwarf.
Red Dwarf, the great Red Dwarf.
Same situation, really, just sort of like a general sort of generic formula just to bring in money, really. No real sort of artistical effort at all. Resident Evil, 2002, in between the two Tomb Raider movies. I tell you what, I didn't mind this. I thought it was okay. It was okay. It was a good start. It was shaky, but it kind of stuck to the game quite a fair bit, but I think it all fell apart at the end, and of course the director was whatever.
I believe it's Paul Anderson again, Mortal Kombat fame. This is where he fell off the rails a little. Got bit too big for himself.
And that's ever so evident in the sequels.
Yeah.
the endless spawn of sequels. So what's the problem with Resident Evil?
Well, anyone who knows the game is you're a crack SWAT team, and your helicopter crashes, and you're getting chased through the forest from the crash site by these ravenous Dobermans, and you end up on this mansion. And for about 2/3 of the game, you're actually in the mansion. You're on its ground. You're actually, in the actual mansion itself. You're on its grounds, solving puzzles and whatnot. And it's a completely spooky atmosphere because you don't know what's going to jump out of you. Whether it's going to be a giant spider or a zombie or another dog, all those horrible reptilian hunter things, which scared the shit out of me. The film had the mansion for about 2 minutes, and then we're straight in the labs. And I was like, ugh, really?
Yeah.
You're skirting over the mansion, the best part of the actual fucking game.
Yeah, I mean, I would. To be fair, I would be struggling if I was the screenwriter for that, thinking, okay, so how can we flesh that out? But it wouldn't have taken much resistance to actually come to a solution. So yeah, I do agree with you. But I did appreciate it because it did at least address it rather than not at all.
At least it was in the actual film.
Yeah. Silent Hill. Oh no, Doom. Doom in 2005.
It had The Rock in it, didn't it?
Yes, it did.
The Rock and Carl Urban.
And the trailer featured that famous sort of real life
First person view. Yeah, that's shot. The only thing I can remember about that film. Other than that, couldn't tell you nothing about it.
It was. I've seen it a couple of times in the past. It was generic. It wasn't too bad, but I think because the fact that it was a game made the movie suffer. If it was just a movie, I think it would have done all right. And if there was no game, I mean, it would have done quite good. But the fact that it was a game, and the game is very much fast paced, And this wasn't really. It was kind of like suspense and then action and then suspense again. And that Doom was literally all like bam, bam, bam.
Yeah, Doom's one of those games that just doesn't really have a plot to it.
No.
It's just level after level of just shooting enemies.
Yeah, it's just, and they should have really embraced that.
You're on Mars, apparently. That's what it says.
Yeah, you were on Mars in the game.
Yeah.
But I think it was Doom 3. I think there was like a long break between 2 and 3 or something, and then 3 was the real next step in 3D for the game, because previously it was all just sort of like primitive sort of style graphics, wasn't it? I think the third one came back and it was realistic, and I think that's when it introduced this whole Mars concept. I don't know, I could be really wrong on that, but there was this sort of laboratory on Mars and stuff. That wasn't bad, but as I said, if it wasn't a game, then it probably would have done better. Silent Hill, I don't remember the Silent Hill actually.
Do you? Anything really bad. I think that's Sean Bean in it.
Was that the one with Sean Bean?
I think it was.
Yeah, I remember
the game. I don't remember the movie.
I remember there was something wrong with the ending.
Yeah, I remember it came out. The film. I think it's because I never clocked the game.
Yeah, possibly. Don't really know enough about that.
Silent Hill was always like a distant cousin of Resident Evil. You know, the family members don't talk amongst themselves, but yeah, that's kind of what it is. It's like a distorted version of Resident Evil.
I do have a problem with Japanese horror. I do tend to think that they can be quite ambiguous with their storylines and stuff. It's just odd. It's just weird. That I don't think they're particularly clever ideas, and what we do see is just sort of a bit weird and tentacly anyway, and yeah. So let's move on to the Hitman. I can't remember the guy who.
Timothy Oliphant, wasn't it?
Timothy, that's it.
I saw him first time in Scream 2. He was spoiler alert, he was one of the killers. That's the thing I saw him in. I've seen him a lot more now. Obviously, people today might remember him being in The Mandalorian season 2.
Oh yeah,
as the guy wearing the Boba Fett armor.
That's right. Yeah. I liked initially. I didn't like him as Agent 47, but then he warmed to me because I realised, well, it's the young Agent 47, so there's lots of room for sequels, and he gets all religious and he goes Catholic or something. I think, whatever the character, but I don't know. I thought it was a good start. And I was quite upset when they sort of gave that up, really. You said you didn't see much of it.
I've seen the whole film. It's been years. I mean, what was it? It was 2007, so wow, that's like 15 years ago, pretty much. Yeah.
All right, so let's move on then. Tekken?
Apparently there was a Tekken film.
There was a Tekken. All right, well, I have no idea.
Street Fighter.
Warcraft.
I wanted to see this. Because obviously, you know, me and yourself, you love Lord of the Rings, that kind of fantasy thing speaks to us.
Yeah.
I never really got into the games because the games was one of those MMOs.
Yes.
And I don't do MMOs. I just don't like them. And it looked too fidgety, it's all point and click.
There's something fundamentally wrong with MMOs, not to sort of like divert for too much, but yeah, MMOs by its very definition, I kind of think is unsustainable. And I don't think it works anyway, because how can you advertise an MMO where you get to be powerful? Because that just means everyone's going to be a powerful character and it just cancels everything out.
That's it.
And so what do you do then to keep people's interest? And that is just to give them bosses that take 3 hours to finish.
Yeah. I mean, when I heard about Warcraft, one of the things that put me off completely was South Park, because obviously they did an episode, Make Love, Not Warcraft, and from season 10, and that was a brilliant episode, and I love that. That told me everything I needed to know about Warcraft without even playing it.
Exactly.
And that's it. That's probably why and obviously Lord of the Rings set a bar so high with the fantasy genre. That's another reason why I didn't go near the Warcraft film.
Now that I think about it, I'm surprised that Blizzard agreed to it, given what the storyline is actually about, the South Park storyline.
Oh, of course, yeah. I mean,
do you know what I mean?
Yeah. South Park, they have ways of getting around things. I'm sure they do. I mean, they're always picking up on political standpoints and celebrities, the moral standard always takes a dive with them, and they have no fun. No problem making fun of these things.
Yeah.
So I'm sure they got around it somehow.
I do have my own issue with South Park. I think it's sort of creatively bankrupt at the moment. But anyway, that's again another podcast. Assassin's Creed.
Yes, this was something I was really looking forward to. Michael Fassbender in it.
Yeah.
I was really looking forward to it.
It looked quite promising.
It did look very promising from the trailers, and then when you get to the film, you just realise the editor is a fucking bellend.
Yeah, my gripe with it was the fact that they went with this whole Abstergo shit when the gamers never wanted to be taken out of that era into a modern day environment to deal with some shit that we didn't want to deal with, only so that we could go back into the machine back in time. We wanted to just stay in that time period, and I don't think during Assassin's Creed's run they realised that or embraced it at all. So with the movie conversion, they embrace that, and it's pretty much all of the film is that, and it's only like a few sort of beats where it's actually back in time. So it was largely disappointing, but I kind of thought it was a good effort, but it was just a little bit misplaced or
There was definitely some
misjudged.
missteps. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, you get some really good action sequences like set back in, I think it was Spain. I think it was medieval Spain. I think is where the
I
character
think it
went
was,
to.
yeah.
And you get some really good action, and then all of a sudden it just cuts to modern day again. Thinking, wait a minute, what happened?
Yeah,
What have you done?
exactly.
Did you run out of footage? Did you not film anything else that day, or what?
Yeah,
I
the
think, oh, for fuck's
B
sake.
crew not available that day.
Yeah, exactly. And you think, oh, come on, you've lost the plot of the fucking game here. You've not played these games, I swear.
And that's I think is the sort of the general point here, is that they don't understand the themes that we felt from the game because they're not so evident. It's not so it's not so blatant in your face. You have to have played the game all the way through to get the essence and the feeling of it, and that's what they miss. With Warcraft, because I don't think we sort of discussed why Warcraft didn't work. I mentioned before the podcast started that maybe it was because Warcraft came out at a time when everyone was CG fatigued, perhaps, and I just, maybe there should have been an element of live action. Wasn't there a tiny element with humans that they filmed live or something?
Yeah, there was actual human actors, yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
okay. So there was.
Yeah,
there
yeah.
was. But I think there kind of probably needed to be a bit more. I don't know. That's a difficult one to analyse, I think, Warcraft. It could be that it was oversaturated anyway. Now, there has been some successes.
Yeah, it's not
One or two.
It's not a lost cause.
Yeah. Sonic the Hedgehog.
It worked.
It worked.
I will bitch about shoehorning Earth into video game films,
Yeah.
but this worked.
This did work.
I accepted this. This was absolutely quite enjoyable. I took my little boy to see this, and I didn't think he was going to embrace it, but he loved it. He was really good. He's actually eager to see number 2 next month.
I mean, he's a snarky little turd, isn't he? And I loved the fact that they played on that kind of side of the character. He's a bit cheeky. The first sort of render test for you could call it a render test really. The trailer released, the first one.
Yeah.
Just that everyone was horrified by his
What
look.
he done to the character.
So respect to them. They went back to the drawing board. Okay, we need to redesign Sonic, and they just made it look like the fucking game. Why did that work?
Base material, or source material, should we say? That's what that's generally the thing you have to take from if it's a video game, it's a book. If you stay true to the source material, you're gonna definitely win the hearts of people.
Yeah.
So characters have to look like they are in the game. How you remember them.
Yeah. No, I agree.
I mean, that's why things like say like Super Mario Brothers didn't work because you got Bob Hoskins and John Leguizamo in this really badly designed set. They don't look nothing like Mario and Luigi at all. I mean, no one really does because they're very cartoony. Thank God they're going to do an animated movie on this because that's the only way you're going to get the characters right in that respect.
Exactly.
Mortal Kombat with Paul Anderson, Sub-Zero and Scorpion they looked how they looked in the first Mortal Kombat game.
Yeah, no, there was a lot of appreciation.
And with Sonic, they put out a trailer, and we thought, what the fuck have you done? And then a bit of fan backlash, and then I thought, okay, as you said, they've come back to the drawing board, and they've given us Sonic as he looks in the game. And
he's funny. He is actually funny. It was a good film. But here comes along a film which is a classic example of how not to interpret a game into a movie. We need to talk about Monster Hunter.
How long have you got?
Okay, so to start off, I've not seen it because I took one look at the trailer, laughed, and then sort of, wiped my bum with it and dropped it in the loo, really, because I knew straight away. You had the misfortune of going to see it. I saw it
on Sky Movies, so I didn't go to the cinema. Thank God I didn't.
Yeah.
Again, it's one of those classic things where they've shoehorned Earth into a game where Earth doesn't actually exist in the game universe. People can correct me if I'm wrong. I've only played Monster Hunter World.
But it is based on Monster Hunter World, isn't it? It's not like it's based on the range.
The first monster you see in this film is the Diablos.
Yeah.
And we all know the Diablos is this hard-ass bitch of a fucking creature who can kick the shit out of seasoned players. And you got Mila Djokovic, who's obviously Paul Anderson's wife, and he loves using her. See Resident Evil. And basically this Diablos it just kills most of her crew.
Apart from her,
obviously. She manages to get through. And Tony Jard's in it, and he's everyone knows he's a great martial artist. If anyone's seen The Raid,
right?
You've seen The Raid. That's a great martial arts movie. I do recommend it. But he's in that, and he's basically put in this film as a hunter. And he's got all the gear. You think, I remember that weapon. There's a sequence they end up in this fucking battered ship that's obviously been demolished by the Diablos, and you see all the weaponry in there, the long sword, and all that shit. That's all in there. And you think, okay, well at least they've paid a bit of attention. But that's all they've paid. They got the Diablos right. They got the sound effects right. It's all from the game. They reckon the hardest creature, according to this film, is a Rathalos. And I've fucking killed a Rathalos. I can kill one in under 2 minutes on my own.
Everyone's able to drop kick one of them into orbit.
Exactly,
anyway.
And that apparently, according to the film, is the most vicious, toughest monster out there. And they do the unthinkable because they actually end up bringing the fucking Rathalos to our world.
Yeah.
For the end sequence, and it's like, oh my good God, has anyone of you people played this game?
Well, no, they haven't, have they? They clearly haven't.
There is a roster of 30, 40 monsters in Monster Hunter World alone.
Yeah.
Okay, there's a doubles in there, but you give us a Diablos and a Rathalos. That's it.
No, it was very bare bones. As I said, I've not seen it, but I didn't need to.
The laughable thing is Ron Perlman's in it. You might know as Hellboy.
Oh God.
Ron Perlman's in it. He plays the Admiral. The guy in charge of the ship with the big sort of lion mane, blonde haircut.
Yeah.
He's in it. He's so miscast. He shouldn't be there.
He was literally there for the paycheck.
But you get to the end of the film and they leave it open, and I'm thinking, oh, for fuck's sake, please don't make another one. Please. And at the moment, nothing's been confirmed, and I thank God they're not going to do another one, because that was fucking awful.
No, it was.
It was awful. Don't see it. Ever.
No, you heard it here, folks. If you've not seen it, don't, because if you love the Monster Hunter franchise, the game franchise, then you're going to be sorely disappointed. Because Monster Hunter is essentially anime, and you can't, if you try to sort of translate anime to a Western audience in real life, it doesn't work. It will never work. Like the fart bender, air bender,
Oh, that thing.
There's so many. Yeah, there's so many other examples, right? It doesn't really work. So. We've got Uncharted. I've not seen it. Apparently it's just sort of come out, really, February 18th of this year. I haven't seen it.
Tom Holland and Tam Banderas, Mark Wahlberg. I've heard mixed things about it. I wouldn't mind seeing it because it's a very, very good series on PlayStation. It's a very good video game series. We
have literally just skimmed through. It's a fairly big list. So we did skim through it, but what do you think out of all of these is the issue? What's the fucking issue? What are they getting wrong?
They're basically capitalising on what's popular right now. So if there's a game that's selling really well, so let's take Monster Hunt. Let's take Monster Hunt as an example. That was a massively successful game.
Yeah.
It sold so many units because originally it was a Nintendo property, and then it went to obviously the consoles, the PlayStations, the Xboxes. It went to that, and it sold so many copies. I mean, there were so many people playing that game. And all they thought, okay, what's the premise of Monster Hunter? Okay, group of people hunt some monsters. Okay, we can do that. And that's all they took. They just took that and made a couple of monster designs. They didn't factor in the fact this Earth is not fucking mentioned in any one of these games ever. It's set on the fantasy location of Astera.
Yeah.
There was never a mention of Earth, and no fucking Marines singing shitty fucking Marine songs while trudging around in a fucking truck. That's generally the problem. They missed the point. I don't think any of them play the game in completion. If you've got a video game film, the first thing you should fucking do is play the game. Mm-hmm. Get a group of people. Okay, we're going to write a movie based on this premise. Let's play the game first, and then we can construct some story from that.
Yeah.
Because that alone should appeal to people. You shouldn't have to think shoehorn Earth in to appeal to the casual moviegoer.
Yeah.
I'm thinking, oh yeah, they're on Earth. You can relate to that. Not the fact is it's a mystical world, a fantasy environment. They think, come on in, have a look. Look at this. Look at these plants. Look at these other creatures. These massive monsters. And we have to fight them all.
Bearing in mind, this is a film that came out in 2020. Okay, just to give that as a context. Now, Lord of the Rings came out in 2000, 2001 or whatever.
2001 to 2003, yeah.
Right.
3 films, yeah.
So back then, you have this trilogy which just draws you into their universe, right? There's no humans coming from Earth through a portal to help us along, and I think this is one of the major points that you're trying to make, which is they just don't get it. They don't understand that you don't need to shoehorn in something that we're familiar with. Just draw us into that world, because that's all it needs to be. That's all books are. I don't think they understand the translation of certain elements. What I mean is that they're too blinded by what they think will work rather than embracing something they're not familiar with. I think they're failing to sort of grasp what people want from a video game movie. And I personally believe that what the public wants from a video game movie is the same experience they had whilst playing the game.
Agreed.
So all you have to do is emulate that experience, and that involves playing the fucking game. If you haven't played the game, you've got no chance. And it's no good sitting down with someone who has played the game, and it might not even be any good you watching gameplay of it. You might actually have to sit down, put some headphones on, isolate yourself for a month, finish the game yourself in order to get that hands-on personal experience. I think any director who's going to take the job on has to do this themselves. So the last thing I just want to talk about briefly is the up-and-coming Bioshock TV series. Now, I'm very excited because obviously Bioshock is one of my favourite games of all time, and I was desperately waiting for it to be turned into a movie. Didn't happen, it fell through, and Netflix have pulled it up now. Yeah, we're going to get a TV series based on the first game, apparently. So, I'm very, very happy about that.
And I'll have to see if they do it justice, because the art design alone is something that's going to be scrutinised if they don't get it right.
No, well, yeah, I assume that they will get it right, because they can't afford not to. And the whole mechanic about, killing younglings for your own benefit is something that I hope they explore. But I don't want them to get too gory. I don't want to see the gore. I'd rather just sort of hear about it and then maybe sort of, see some dodgy bits here and there. I don't want them to do a Game of Thrones thing where it's shock value for shock value's sake, basically.
Too gratuitous.
Yeah. I'd rather it was,
Skirted over.
part of the narrative if it has to be, but be sort of
one
respectful.
of the age-old adages is what you see doesn't it shocks you.
Well, it scares you more, doesn't it?
You don't have to see anything.
Yeah.
And the problem with this is probably saying for the future also. Modern films, TV shows, they have a habit of wanting to explain everything. Everything needs to be explained, whether it's in another TV series or a prequel or a reboot. They have to explain it all. You don't need that anymore. This is where this is where writers go wrong.
Yeah. It's like when if you're watching like an American sort of TV show like Cops, or something like that, and the fact that it always goes to like a 10-minute break every 5 minutes, and then when it comes back it gives you another 5 minutes of what they were fucking talking about before the break, and then you get another 5 minutes before it goes to the break again, right? So it's the way they keep doing that, it's just like, we're not thick. But I do hope that they do it well, because there's a lot of good moral messages in that story that I think that they can really play on and explore, and we could carry on talking about this for hours really, about why video game movies don't work, but I think largely it's down to a major misunderstanding. They need to sort of study the source material more and work out a different way of interpreting it, because the success rate isn't very high. It does need a special talent, I guess, like a Peter Jackson talent at the time, because he's lost his luster, hasn't he? Really. That's it. Unless you want to bring anything else up.
No. I think we've covered it marginally.
Yeah.
I mean, the future is it's potentially bright. It's probably going to be grim, but it's potentially bright.
Yeah, we've got a lot of new video game movie titles coming up, don't we? We've got. There's a Gears of War film coming. There's a Ghost of Tsushima.
That could be good.
We've got a Just Cause. Nah, no, probably not. There's a Metal Gear Solid one on the way. There's a Mortal Kombat 2. God help them.
Well, I didn't mind the last Mortal Kombat film. It was okay.
Yeah.
At least it was violent.
They've announced a third Sonic the Hedgehog. Of course they have. I don't know how Space Invaders is going to work, but there's
not very well.
Yeah.
What next? The Lawnmower Simulator movie. How about that? Maybe we'll have that.
There's another Womb Raider coming, and then a Saints Row and a Yakuza. So I don't know. We'll see. I can imagine the Yakuza one working quite well, but yeah. Okay. So hopefully, I mean, there's some good shit coming, but who knows? Thank you for joining us this time, everyone. I hope you did enjoy it. If you like what you've heard, then you know what to do. And until the next episode, I shall see you later. Say goodbye.
Goodbye.
All right, everyone. Take care. Bye.